More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it! The magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a chance! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kicks up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. No funny stories this week because we're 150 episodes old. 150 can describe how many times I've said the word over the last 3 years. Or where these two are concerned, it could be how many Guinnesses they've sank, how many King Whoppers they had, or how many King Whoppers they've told. Who knows? Anyway, it's Jamie and Daz.
150, bloody hell!
I know, mad.
I'm sure you said it more times than that.
I know I have, definitely. 150, yes, 150 episodes, nearly 3 years, 3 promotions, 4 major championships missed, 2 finals lost, far too much money spent.
And still talking utter bollocks.
Oh, to the shite, I know. Jamie, anything kind of sticks out about the last 3 years for you, apart from, the obvious?
Not much has happened, really, is it? It's been quite quiet. Jesus Christ, where'd you start with that? You could literally, you could reel off a load of highlights. I mean, I think for me and probably for a lot of a lot of fans, I think it's that Boreham Wood game, isn't it? That still sticks out for me over the last few years, just purely because of what it meant getting out of the National League. We've had so many amazing memories in the last few years. But yeah, probably that. But it's really, really hard to pick something on the spot. Apart from that, the other highlights of the last 150 episodes in 3 years is talking utter bollocks every week to you two.
Very true. Daz, the flag was quite well known before we started doing this, but it's really picked up some momentum to the point where I was speaking to one of the women's players at one of the matches, and she went, you're the flag. I see the flag at the Wales games. It's you. I said, well, it's not just me. I said, I'm the one you see, but it's me and Daz and Jamie, And she went, I love that flag. It's brilliant. It just shows that 3 years.
Absolutely. I mean, the under-17s are out in San Marino as we speak, and I had a message saying we should have brought the flag with us. We get everywhere. But no, it's quite the 3 years. I mean, I've certainly had my crash course in learning about Wrexham, so thank you, obviously. Yeah. And certainly my knowledge of the women's game has improved. Which
we know you don't like goalkeepers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a former goalkeeper when I was 10, 11, I'm obviously, as part of the union, my subs are well overdue, so I'm probably not going to get asked back. So
definitely not. No. No. Anyway, here's the next 150. Let's carry on as we mean to go on by, as Jamie said, talking even more bollocks. Let's start with Phil Parkinson. Described it as an honour and a privilege after receiving the freedom of Wrexham County Borough, according to the Evening Leader website. The decision to grant Parkinson the honour was taken at full council last autumn after gaining a place in the second tier of the EFL for the first time in 43 years. The ceremony at the Guildhall saw the official document signed, conferring the civic honour on the 58-year-old. He said, "It's an incredible honour for myself and my family. It's a great ceremony, and I am very proud of the award. It's a great indication of the impact a football club can have on the community, and that it has been recognised with the honour I have received. Obviously, I am well aware that I have had so much support in the 5 years I have been here." When asked whether he has looked into what the freedom of the city means, Parkinson added, "I have been told a few stories about what it entails. The most important thing is the honour of the actual award, and it is a real privilege." Jamie, you dropped a great joke the other night on a thing. What did you say?
I said, I bet you they charged him for parking.
Anybody who knows that, basically the Guildhall parking park that was outside the old library, which is now the police station, used to be free on match days, and they stopped doing that. So yeah. It's quite funny. I mean, this is quite. I mean, it is a ceremonial thing. It's in the grand scheme of things, what does it really mean? But it's not to be sniffed at, is it? To be given the freedom of a city, particularly as somebody who is not, from Wrexham.
Hey, look, freedom of Wrexham. It means he can drive through Kaya Park without getting stones thrown at his car. He gets half-price fish and chips at Everland. What more do you want?
What more do you want? Yeah.
No, look. In all seriousness, it's. I think that quote that he's made there about showing, or this is kind of highlighting the connection that a football club can have to town, a city, and what it means to the community. And I think that is one of the big things, isn't it? If you look back over the course of the last 5 years or so since Rob and Ryan took over, and obviously the football is front and centre, but the documentary we get to see, don't we, the impact it's had, and obviously we get to see it, even though both of us don't necessarily live in Wrexham anymore, but we visit often enough that we can see the impact that this has had on the whole area. And I think to be able to give recognition and acknowledgement to Parky like this is a nice little touch, isn't it? I mean, for him and his family, I'm sure it's a proud moment. Like you say, what it actually means, I don't know whether there's any legit perks to it. I don't know. I mean, is that still a thing that you can kill an Englishman at midnight? Yeah, I
think that's Chester, to be honest. I mean, obviously, it's not as big as it used to be. I mean, when you have the Beast Market, you get the most preferential pitch, and you get 50% off at the Hightown Shaggy. I mean, it's don't get any of those things anymore. I mean,
hey, imagine if Hot Peppers was still there, you'd get a free lap dance and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Daz, this is. I mean, what is it? What does it mean? Because as I say, we talk about football. This really bleeds more into the community side of things. It's not unique, is it, for Wrexham to have club and community so socially entwined like this? Because there are other clubs and towns that are like this.
Yeah, no, but I think you're absolutely right. It does say something about the sport of football in the sense that it is probably the most dominant feature about a town quite often, apart from whether it's it's shopping centre. It's usually about football clubs. It's about the beating hearts of communities, and nothing has done that more than Wrexham at the moment, because the whole town, city, you decide what it's called, has elevated the whole experience. The whole community has been elevated through the actions of two very wealthy men, but with a whole bunch of other people working really hard to make the football club great. And it's just the way it's disseminated through the whole town is amazing. But it needed steering, it needed guiding, and that's what he's done. And it was quite as we saw in the documentary, it was quite the coup to get him to agree to sort of take the plunge and step back a bit in order to push forward. And and without that leadership, he's right though. It takes a lot of people around him to get that right. But he is absolutely instrumental and an absolute face and figurehead of the Wrexham club and community. So a brilliant honour, and whether or not he gets a giant key or or whatever it is that you're supposed to get in these situations, it's absolutely the recognition that's the important thing, and well done to him.
Well, Sunday lunchtime, and to celebrate 150 episodes, we were treated to a trip to St Andrews. And when I mean treated like when you've got the clap, that kind of treated. Yes, we played Birmingham at St Andrews. Not a match I'm looking forward to talking about, I have to be honest with you, to say the least. Let's look first at the lineup. 3 changes from the loss to Southampton. Dan Scarr came in at the back for Dom Hyam. Matty James came on for Josh Windass, and Ollie Rathbone in for Nathan Broadhead. Jamie, we cried out saying, when is he going to change the back 3? He changed the back 3. But the thing for me is that he didn't start Windass, who has been instrumental in scoring the major goals over the last three games. Was that a shock for you, the fact that he did change the back? But did he change the right one? Because Hyam wasn't the one I was expecting to take out. I was expecting to take out, another player, whichever one that may be, but leave Hyam as the captain in place.
Yeah, I was surprised that. I think Max is the one, isn't it? That I think is if there was going to be a change in the back 3, I think most of us probably thought it was going to be Max. I suppose you have to remember, we can only base it on what we see in the games. He sees them every day in training. He's got all the data from their GPS monitors from training and things. So, he obviously had his reasons and felt the need that Dom Hyam was the one that needed the rest, as it were. But I was a little bit surprised. Dom Hyam's come to us from Blackburn, having played every minute of every game for them last season. I know he's played a lot of football recently, but so was most of his squad. So I was a little bit surprised. But to be fair, with Scarr coming in on the odd occasion this season that he has had to play, he's looked solid. He's looked okay. So I wasn't overly concerned. I think where I was more kind of bothered by this lineup is when I saw like the midfield setup or the midfield and front 3. Great to see Matty James back, but with him and Dobson in there, it felt very defensive. And like I say, the fact, and like you just said, the fact that Windass wasn't picked from the start, again, without knowing whether there was anything more to it, he's been our best creative attacking threat in recent games. So I was quite surprised, to be fair, that he didn't start. So as soon as I saw the lineup, I was a little bit concerned, if I'm being brutally honest.
Well, you're looking purple, so you must be angry because at the moment that's what it looks like. I'm sure.
I don't know what's going on with me lighting. I'm not even going to dick around with it, but I don't know whether it's what's going on.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, this is a really difficult one for me. Because I don't want to go all gung ho, but this was a massive disappointment. This, as we talked about last week, this was a key game. We're on the verge of playoffs, and this is what was presented. Birmingham were on the front foot from the outset, as Awata and Prisk and Osman all had efforts early on. Having survived the early pressure, Wrexham grew into the contest without really troubling Birmingham's goalkeeper Beadle at all. Birmingham's best chance fell to Vincente in the final seconds of the opening half, although his shot was brilliantly smothered by Okonkwo to ensure the score remained level at the break. Jamie, the first half, again, we've said it before, haven't we, in the previous weeks? Wrexham seem to be a 45-minute team at the moment. They either play really well for the first 45 and then it all fall apart in the second 45, or we come out for the first 45 half asleep and completely on like a TV on standby, and then come alive in the second 45. So you're kind of going, okay, we're going to have one of those games where we're going to be asleep for the first 45, but this was particularly bad. I can't really remember anything that we created in the first 45 minutes. And Arthur really kept us in the game at 0-0 by that save right near the end. Was it? Did you have a similar feeling with the first half?
It was a tough watch. It was, the first half, the whole game was a tough watch. Look, I've read and I've heard so many people talking this week, and the whole thing keeps cropping up about, perspective and remember where we've come from and all that jazz. And look, I'm not forgetting any of that, but as I've said a few times this season, I think we're well within our rights to kind of analyse and debate the games on a game-by-game basis based on where we're at this season, with the squad we've assembled and where we're at. And unfortunately, there has been a few occasions this season where you have to simply say it just wasn't good enough, and that's the problem. And it's not, if you were beaten 2-0 by Birmingham because they've played significantly better than you, or you've had bits of bad luck or whatever it might be, but you cannot have 4 shots in a game and none on target and expect to win games. You just can't. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
And I think what's really frustrating is this with this game was it was very much in the vein of the Swansea game earlier in the season, the Cardiff game earlier in the season, where there didn't look a lot of urgency, a lot of intensity. It was just sort of bimbling around, and it was hard. It was hard to watch because we didn't look like we wanted to compete. And you're looking for somebody to get the game by the scruff of the neck, and there was just nobody to take ownership of the game. You've just said yourself there. We've spoken at length this season, both on here and privately and in the stands and stuff. We haven't put together a complete performance all season. We've had halves where we've had a good half and a bad half, or we've had a 60-minute spell maybe. But the amount of games where we start the game poorly is a consistent theme now, and I think what we're learning this season is that you can't do that. You can't afford to do that in this division. Teams are too good, and you'll just get punished. When we were speaking about this last week, yes, I predicted a Wrexham win because I felt it was a must-win game, but I also did say, if you remember, that I felt we were going to lose because I just had a feeling it was going to be a tough game. Birmingham with absolutely nothing to play for. I knew that they would be up for it because there seems to be this crazy faux rivalry with us over the last couple of seasons. But that's what makes it even more frustrating, is the fact that we were beaten by a pretty bang average team, if I'm being brutally honest. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. They've got an incredible squad of players, and they've got, they were phenomenal last season, and I'm sure they'll add and they'll build on it. But at this moment in time, with the form they're in, they weren't, they were pretty average, but they made us look, or we made them look amazing because we were so poor. And that's what was disappointing. We created nothing. The final third, we just looked so bereft of ideas. There was no creativity. There was no intensity. There was nothing. You could still be playing now, and I don't think we could score a goal. It was tough to watch. But like you say, in that first half alone, Arthur making that save at the end of the half kept us in it, because at least you go in 0-0 at half time, and even though you've had a disappointing half, the hope is that you come out in the second half. And it was genuinely that poor of a first half that I thought this is going to be one of the rare occasions where we might see a substitution at half time. But we didn't.
But we have seen. I mean, this season, with this season, we have seen this. Wrexham played badly for 45 minutes, come out after half time, switch it on. We had it in the West Brom game. 2-0. We could not get near the ball first half. Second half, completely different side. It was just really weird. Daz, obviously, I would imagine you've tried to watch the highlights. Did you manage to find any?
No, I watched most of the game.
Oh wow! I am sorry.
No.
Did you ask for your money back?
It was because it was on one of those, one of those channels that I pay, weekly for, and I thought I better watch something on it. And there you were.
Yeah, and something is exactly what you watched. I mean, can you explain it? How Wrexham were just so poor particularly in that first half?
Well, I'm gonna defend Wrexham. No, I'm gonna defend Wrexham. I'm gonna also accuse Birmingham of being. It was a dull first 45 minutes. I don't think I've watched a more boring and less entertaining game, really, in a long time. And I've watched a few. There was nothing to it. There was no desire. I thought Birmingham were under. I thought if this is what the whole night is going to be like, this is going to be tedious, really. At least Birmingham did up the pace a little bit. But no, I just excuse me. I was amazed with a must-win game, like you said. The energy, the drive, and I don't think it's anything to do with the changing of the team, because you've got some, like for like, the want for success is still got to be there. They just felt so, the apathy, they're just the general. I think the quality. I think there were moments where you could see they were trying, but they were getting so frustrated because it wasn't working, but. The quality on the day was just touches were poor for pretty much across the board, really. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it was like one of the most non-event events that I'd seen for a first half.
Not a great advert for Championship football. Well, Vicente was not to be denied 3 minutes after the restart, though the Spanish winger headed Kai Wagner's cross into the net, despite the best efforts of Okonkwo. I mean, Jamie, some people were, obviously, again, backstick. Thomason didn't pick up his guy. He was on the wrong side of the guy. This guy was just too powerful. Okonkwo did get his hand to it. Didn't manage to keep it out. Some people on social media are blaming Okonkwo. Again, I heard the same people saying, we should bring Ward in. I've never heard anything more stupid in all my life, to be honest. Why are you going to bring Ward in with 4 games to go? Are you, somebody who's not played since August or September? That's just crazy. Do you think Okonkwo's to blame for this, or it's a kind of the whole thing?
No, I think he'll be disappointed. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll be very disappointed that he didn't save it, because he did appear to get quite a strong hand to it. But, like with most goals, I think you have to look at the bigger picture, and it's not just, it's not just down to him. There's some, you question the closing down from the cross in the first place. As you just pointed out, Thomason, again, it's hard to be overly critical of him because he's doing a steady job in a position that is not his position. But occasionally something like that will happen, which highlights, his lack of awareness as a wing back. Vicente is on the, he's on the front foot. He's attacking the ball as it comes in and completely catches Thomason cold. But like for me, it's not a blame or pointing a blame to any one person. I think there are multiple sort of touch points in that goal where you could argue we should have done better as a team game. I think collectively they'd look at that goal and be overall disappointed with it. I certainly don't blame Arthur, and like you say, I saw some of the nonsense about you need to bring Ward back in. Some people just need to really get a grip. Look at what he's done this season overall. Yes, he's made some mistakes, but Jesus Christ, all the players make a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes in their working life. Unfortunately, as a goalkeeper, if you do make an out-and-out mistake, it tends to get highlighted. It's usually means conceding a goal or a penalty or something like that because of the nature of the position. I certainly don't think he was at fault. I'm sure he'd be disappointed when he looks at it back because he did get a good hand to it. But yeah, Christ, Colin,
I'm going to put you up on the good hand. He gets a hand to it. He gets himself positionally spot on. He's got the reach for it spot on. And it does seem to hit the hand. It's not like it's fingertips. And so I would question whether or not all the hate. There's no time for hate. I don't buy in for that, and forget who they think it should be. But he could have done better. You're right. He will be disappointed, but I can't work out what he did wrong. Why wasn't his hand strong enough to hold it? Because it was he got it. He got it onto his hand. It's not fingertips and bent round, and it's nothing to do with strong wrists because his hand looked solid. Yeah. How it went through, I have no idea.
It's a fair point, and to be fair, when I say a good hand, we've seen goalkeepers in the past where they've got a good save and it's just not been enough to keep it out. It was more the point that you just made about the fact that when you watched it back in slow-mo, the ball did seem to hit the centre of his hand, and you think to yourself, how has he not kept that out? Because he's got a good proportion of his hand behind it. I mean, I don't think. Just trying to think now, that wasn't the wrist because it was his left hand. That wasn't the wrist that he broke.
No, it
was it 18 months ago? It was his right, wasn't it? So
yes, it was.
look, I don't know, maybe one of those freak things, but yeah, look, it was a bad. It was a bad goal to concede.
And he's a good player because Carlos Vicente. I mean, isn't he like one of the few players this season has already scored against Real Madrid and
they signed him in. They signed him in January, didn't they?
Yeah. So you're in good company. The fact that he scores goals, he's come in from a top league, a top side. I think it was Zaragoza or something like that, and he's one of the few players that have scored against Madrid, Barcelona, and Wrexham. I mean, it's good company.
Although I can't get on board with the fact he wears a mouth guard. Woke nonsense.
Thanks, Jamie. Well, and 150 episodes in, and Daz is now trying to get angry with the whole of the goalkeeping union, not just the women's union. So thanks for that, Daz. Nice one. I mean, Wrexham had scored in 10 successive away league games prior to this trip, when Phil Bagginson turned to Nathan Broadhead and joint top scorer Josh Windass to try and give us a chance to extend the run. But the home side, it was actually the home side that extended the lead from a corner, 71 minutes. Captain Clara poked substitute Sung Ho's delivery into the back of the neck again at the far post. I mean, Jamie, set piece. He's wide open at the back. It's not strong enough. Yeah. Just had to tap it in. I mean, that's a poor goal to give away, isn't it?
Again, it's a piss poor team goal to give away. There's a few, there's a couple of areas you can pull up. Arthur. You probably got more of a question mark over Arthur for that goal than the first one. If you look at the way the ball comes in across his 6-yard box, he should be dominating that part of the box. He should, particularly the size of him, he should be absolutely taking that and anything else that's there out. And then, unfortunately, when he does miss the ball, I don't know whether, on the face of it, it looks like Max was completely out-muscled, and that might have been the case. Or I wonder whether maybe Max just wasn't prepared as he would normally have been, thinking that Okonkwo's going to get the ball. I don't know. I
think that's a bit of a mismatch anyway. Clara is a big, strong, physical player, and I don't think Cleworth was the right one to put him with. I think you'd put Scar with him because you need two absolute man mountains to sort of smash together. And that one, Cleworth wasn't the one for me to take on Clara, and I think that showed. There were other instances in the game where it was on the edge, Cleworth had to give away some, quite bad fouls because he just got beat a couple of times.
The problem is
that's not a criticism. That's not criticism of Cleworth. That's unfortunately, for me, it was a mismatch.
The problem is it's one of the downsides to zonal marking, isn't it? Which we do majority of the time is zonal marking, and the problem is with that is you end up in a situation where, and we've seen it a few times this season, where you end up with big mismatches, and that's one of the downsides to it. And if you're the opposition, you try and exploit that, and whether that was a deliberate move to put Klarna on Max, knowing that it was a physical mismatch, or whether it was just that was the positioning from the attacking perspective that they took up. But yeah, it didn't look great for Max, did it? Because it looked like he was completely out-muscled. I just wonder how much of it was down to the fact that it was a physical mismatch, or how much of it was down to maybe a mental misjudgment because he didn't anticipate that Okonkwo was going to go, not going to get anywhere near it. But either way, when that goal goes in, you just think to yourself, Christ, it's
If it wasn't a goal, it was going to be a penalty anyway, because he was all over Clara. Because the footage leading up to that moment zooms in on those two, and Cleworth is all over him. So I think he was probably man for man on that particular cross, because he couldn't get any closer. I mean, he was holding on to him right to the end. But like you said, he's a mountain of a man, and he peels off the back. But I think you're right, Jimmy. I think Okonkwo has completely misjudged the trajectory of the ball, and then before he realizes he's under pitched it, he's the wrong side of his own defender, so he can't even get round the other side of the defender to get into a proper position of being able to punch it away. It's calamitous in many ways, but Cleworth was was close to giving away a penalty if it hadn't gone in anyway. I don't know, but it's going back to that thing about all the wrestling that goes on in the box these days is ridiculous. I mean, there's so much shirt pulling and holding and grabbing and pushing. It was an absolute a complete WrestleMania.
Proper WrestleMania, yeah. I mean, the other thing for me, Jamie, as well, is on both of these, the biggest guy in our arsenal, Kiefer Moore, didn't get anywhere near either of them. You would want him to at least try and stop the cross getting through to the back stick. And he didn't get anywhere near either of those.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Kiefer Moore does it. One of the huge benefits to him is he offers a defensive strength as well as an attacking strength, doesn't it? But look, it's hard to kind of suggest that he should have had more of an impact. They're a big side, Birmingham got some big, tall players. I think the bigger problem for me when you're talking about Kiefer Moore and it's just how isolated he was from an attacking perspective. This is a common theme now that we've seen quite a few times. It's happening with Sam Smith, and it does come back to that whole thing of something's not working. We've had games. If you go back to the Sheffield United game on Boxing Day, which was the first time we saw Broadhead, Windass, and Moore, and look how that worked. And we talked at the time about the fact that when that works from an attacking perspective, it's great, and you're going to sacrifice some of the defensive, the defensive work by having those three on the pitch. But at the time, we had Chief playing, and I think what we've realised in the last couple of months, and particularly with being missing Matty James as well, is how significant of a player that top quality defensive midfielder in the team, or two defensive midfielders. No disrespect to Dobson, he's done a very amicable job at this level, but I'm not quite sure he's a week in, week out starter. Matty James is nowhere near fit. You could see that against Birmingham. He did his best, but apart from the fact that he's at the stage of his career that he's at, they were overrun. The midfield was just completely overrun.
I mean, he's playing through the pain barrier apparently because he's still not fully healed. So I mean, that says a lot, to be honest, from that point of view. I mean, Jamie, for you, Parky said, "Oh, I want to get back to basics." That's what he said after the 5-1 defeat to Southampton. Right, back to basics means taking out your strongest defender and putting in a defender that you haven't played in 3 months. And for me, it showed, because defensively, I thought there were moments of panic, and we got away with so much. And the 2 goals that were scored were down to not out and out skill by Birmingham, because they weren't worldies. They weren't, skillful 1-2 pass, quick pass. It was a cross from the wing over everybody and headed into the back post due to weak defending, and then from a set piece corner. I mean, do you think that taking Dom Hyam out? I understand, as Parky has said in his interviews, Dom Hyam was redlined. He was, he played too much and he felt he needed a rest. Was that right decision?
It's easy for me to sit here now and say no because we lost the game and we played poorly. It's a bit unfair really to confidently answer that and say, oh yeah, it was an absolute terrible decision, because it's easy to say that now. Like I said at the start, I think you have to trust that the reason that he left Dom Hyam out, he's got more data and more insight into it than you or me or anybody else. So if that's, he obviously felt that was the right thing to do, and so be it. I think the whole back to basics thing, the comment made sense after the Southampton game, although I think.
But hang on a second. What is back to basics? Back to basics last season was we defend incredibly well and then we sneak 1 goal.
Well, in this case, I think back to basics meant forgetting how to play football, because that's what it looked like.
This is the massive problem, though, with the Wrexham we have at the moment, right? Because yes, when we're on fire, when we're on form, when we have the service from midfield to our front, we score goals, and often we can score more goals than we let in at the back because our defence is leaky. We have the second worst defensive record, I think, in the league, something like that. I mean, but when the front isn't firing and we're not scoring goals, it then becomes a problem, doesn't it?
The difficulty is, right, this game, this performance is something we have seen quite a bit this season. Excuse me, we've talked about this before. There have been games this season where we've stolen a win where we should have probably got a draw or probably lost the game. The most recent one being Sheffield United away. How we won that game is beyond me. And I think, look, again, we maybe, I'm jumping ahead here a few weeks when we're talking about the season as a whole, because we still don't know. We've still got to stay positive, although it does feel like we are sort of hitting the self-destruct button a little bit and fizzling out towards the key time of the season. We've still got to believe because it's still there. We've got to try and do our bit. And if at the end of the day it's not enough, then it's not enough. And we'll still consider this season a success and everything else. But I think maybe potentially what we're seeing with that performance again is it's maybe just highlighting the fact that we have significantly overachieved this season. We've overachieved with the position that we've ended up getting ourselves into. And it's the hope that kills you. If we were mid-table and we were just surviving in the Championship, we'd all be thrilled with that. But the fact we've flirted with the playoffs, and
we've been there for a while, haven't we? We've been in the playoffs for a while. It's not just a case of we've dipped in and then we've dropped out. We've been there for a number of weeks.
Absolutely. But there's a whole bigger conversation around January transfer window and the general quality of us. That's a whole bigger conversation to have at the end of the season. The bottom line is for this game, particularly after that performance against Southampton, I was more annoyed at this performance than I was losing 5-1 to Southampton, because Southampton were the best Championship team I've seen this season by some way. And to be fair, it'd be interesting to see what the odds are on them getting automatics, because I still think they've got a chance of getting automatics.
Well, after Ipswich slipped up midweek, the most ridiculous game against Portsmouth I think I've ever seen, because Portsmouth, again, exactly what you expect from a team that's fighting relegation. They absolutely bossed Ipswich, and as we've seen, we've managed to boss Ipswich. That's the annoying thing, from that point of view.
I was going to say, and everybody's lost games around you, though. That's the key thing, though. I mean, that you couldn't have asked for.
No, I know.
The silver lining of silver linings is that everybody, apart from Southampton, lost. So it's kind of no change. Which, okay, one less game to do it in, but God, that's lucky,
Again, though, it's maybe end of season conversation, but this is why I was quite surprised. I wouldn't say disappointed. I know there's a lot of people have used the word disappointment or angry or annoyed or whatever. This is why I was quite surprised that the business we did in January, because I just think, even though we're miles ahead of where we should be and probably expected to be, I'm not sure you're going to get a Championship this close again. And this is why I think it's been a huge opportunity, and why I'm surprised they didn't go for it a little bit heavier. Because, if you look at this league now, it's so close. And even, we all thought Coventry were going to walk away with it, and that's not a given anymore. I still get promoted. I'm sure they will, automatics, but it's going to be the top 10 are going to be very, very close in this league this season. And I'm not sure you'll get that again, particularly when you look at potentially the teams that are going to come down. I mean, Tottenham, it looks for all the world that we're going to be playing Tottenham next year.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
You've got to tell me, you've got to go, if Tottenham do get relegated, you've got to come with me to an away day there, surely.
That Tottenham Stadium is one of Ellen Road, St James's Park, Newcastle St James's Park, not Exeter St James's Park. And
been there. Haven't we, Dad? We've been there. Got that
and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Those are 3 stadiums in the UK that I would like bucket list stadiums I'd love to go to. So the fact that we might actually possibly be able to go next season is crazy.
Only if they've got any enough seats. I don't know if they've got enough seats there. That's all. So.
Yeah. I bet we'll get a big allocation there. That's for sure.
I think you'll find they'll have a lot more seats than they were expecting, to be brutally honest with you. Daz, I think the big thing from this game is when you look at the stats: 55% of possession for Wrexham. As Jamie said earlier, 4 shots. 0 shots on target. And it's not as if we didn't have our key strikers on. We started with what everybody thought was a strong front 3, and we brought Broadhead and Windass up. No shots on target. Why?
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks for that.
I mean, I genuinely can't work it out because there's no reason why the want or the drive shouldn't be there, like I said before. And I think the midfield were being bossed out of the park, though, and I don't know if it was because you were bringing back, was it Matty James? Was that his first game for a bit?
First start.
But he came on against Southampton for like 20 minutes, didn't he? But it was his first start for like, 3 months?
Yeah.
But it just felt, that there was far more, quality. I think it keeps coming back to the fact that when in the second half, particularly, if Birmingham got the ball, then there was quality, and most of it was coming through Vicente as well. He was by far the best player on the pitch. I thought Birmingham still were, kind of lackluster at times. But every time he picked up the ball, he drove it on, the energy increased, and everybody spurred off it. But I thought the crowd were flat. I thought the crowd were particularly unimpressed by the whole thing. I mean, it seemed a very odd game to watch.
You can understand why the Birmingham fans are quite frustrated, though, when you watch that game. Because, like you say, both sides, the general quality was overall pretty piss poor. But you look at the level of their squad, and you forget, you forget, and sometimes the quality they've got and strength and depth they've got, you can see why it's a frustrating.
Stansfield was, he was incredible last season. This season, absolutely invisible.
Well, you ask yourself the question why Fulham were willing to let him go.
They paid a fortune for Iwata, and he's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing.
I mean, the commentary did say that when he came off, they said that, obviously it's been a long time since, Boxing Day since his last goal or something was silly like that. I mean, it's been a ridiculous, it's a long time since he scored. But the commentator or the co-com was saying that he brings a lot to the game. The fact that they all work off him. I didn't see it. I didn't see it in that game, but I think they were trying to credit him with being far more influential than his goal returns this year have suggested. You'd have to watch Birmingham week in, week out to know if that's true, but it was an interesting observation from the co-com anyway.
One thing I would say to you, Daz, is if you get opportunity to watch Championship football again, give it another go, because that wasn't really a fair representation of the general level. It's been, this season I've watched some games, obviously not involving us, and there've been some phenomenal games this season in the Championship. But I've enjoyed watching some non-Wrexham Championship games more than Premier League stuff, which I've always been a fan of Premier League football. But that was not a great advert for Championship football. I think they thought they were back in League One.
You've got lots of time now, Daz, because there's no European football for you to watch. So look on the bright side. Jamie, I've got to ask the question. I know you intimated, and you're absolutely right. We're still in the hunt. It's still got to be positive. So let's preface that saying that. But it's not at this point in the season for me. It's not about where you are in the table. It's about your form. Wrexham are 20th out of 24 in the form table, as Daz alluded to not so long ago. Everybody around us pre our game, apart from Southampton, lost. It was the perfect opportunity for us to grab even a point, never mind 3 points. And you get that performance where it's flat, it's no shots on target. It looks like a team, and for me, it looked like a team who was relegation. It's a relegation team, that one. That was a relegation performance for me. I'm just glad that we're in the position now where we'd already done the hard work. Because if we were down near the bottom and we'd had that performance, I would be I'd be worrying, because that is relegation form. I'm going to have to ask the question: do you think we've blown it? Was that our chance? Or, I mean, as people have said this week, we could beat Stoke on Saturday. Hull could lose to Birmingham on the same day. We're then 1 point behind with 3 games to go. So it's possible. But having seen what we saw against Southampton and having seen what we saw on Sunday, do you think Wrexham are basically, mentally, they're gone? They're done?
I said it before. It feels a little bit to me like it's fizzling out a little bit, if I'm honest. I think if you look back over the last few games, again, I think I said this last week, if we're being brutally honest, if you look at our games since we played Chelsea, we've not played particularly well. I know we've picked up some good results in that time, but generally we've not played particularly well. And look, I don't want to be, and I'm not going to be overly critical and this, that, and the other. Maybe it's just, like I said before, we've overachieved. We've been given a false hope, a false position that we probably shouldn't be in. Our squad maybe is not at the level it needs to be competing for promotion from the Championship. I don't know. These, like I say, these are all questions that we can review and discuss at the end of the season. Was I disappointed that with our performance and the fact that we lost to Birmingham and potentially ended our playoff hopes? Yes, I was. Was I really fuming and effing and jeffing because I predicted a Wrexham win for this stupid fucking chip shop league and we went and lost? Yes, I was. Look, like you've just said, we have to believe. We have to believe. It's out of our hands now, but we have to believe. We've got I guess if you look at those last two games, two poor performances, different types of performances, two poor performances, two defeats at a crucial time. But I suppose if you were going to pick, right, what's your next game after those two defeats? You would pick a home game, and you'd probably pick a team who has fizzled out again this season. They've got nothing to play for. They're safe from relegation, but nowhere near playoffs. It's probably the ideal, on paper, it's the ideal opponent. But that, I think we will find out a lot, I think, about where this squad is at, I think, on Saturday. Because what I want to see, what I hope to see, or what I expect to see is just take the handbrake off now, because it's out of our hands. You might as well just go for it. But will we see that? I don't know.
Daz, 1 point from 9. 1 point from the last 9. That's not playoff form, is it? Is that it? Is that where it's all unravelled?
Well, yeah, in the sense that you've lost ground because of those stats, but I don't think it's all lost yet. I think the hope that all of those results around you has given you is that it's not over till it's over, until the fat lady it's until that aria is performed. I don't think you can rule it out, because the math's still in your favor. You can on your day produce results. I'm pinch of salt. I understand the opponents you have make that a lot harder than it sounds, than in terms of others around you, but I don't think it's all, or not all, is lost yet. And until that mathematically isn't possible. But when you're saying about momentum, and 1 point in 9 or whatever is not the kind of momentum you want going in. If you can get the odd result or two, I think getting to the playoffs will be one of those ridiculous psychological boosts that I think. You never know. If you get there, that something will click, and you never know what will happen in those games. Doesn't matter who you're playing. It's just, can you get that 1 or 2 results, and assuming that Hull aren't going to, they're not going to get all their results either.
This is quite odd, though, isn't it? This season is very different to what we've experienced over the last few seasons, where this time of the season,
we're not promoted by now.
We found some form, and we've sort of had the form at the right time, and this time it's the opposite. It does feel a little bit like we're clutching. If we say, oh, we beat Stoke on Saturday, oh, it's on again. It does feel like we're clutching a little bit, because there's a tough ask in front of us. They look at the 4 games we got left. It's a tough ask.
But we could be talking next week, and we could be 2 points ahead of Hull.
Well, we could be. I tell you what, though, it'd make bloody great TV, wouldn't it? It'd be great if we got a documentary.
I was going to say, you can turn the sun lamp off now. By the way, I think you've got a tan.
Brilliant.
Well, Tuesday was much, much better news as Cymru Women were playing Albania Women at the Stoke Kairas. Daz, 4 changes from the win over Montenegro last month. Gemma Evans in for Mia Ross, and Harrod James in for the injured Kerry Holland. Elise Hughes in for Rachel Rowe, and Fionn Morgan in for Hayley Ladd. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, when I looked at that starting 11, I thought, well, yeah, I know we don't have Kerry in there because she's injured, and I know, you know, there are other injuries there, like Lois Joel and whatever, because she's whatever. But actually, that's quite a strong 11. And I know we're only playing Albania, but you're still going to play what's in front of you. You know, but that for me, I was thinking, yeah, do you know, that looks like quite a strong 11.
Yeah, no, and I liked it because it was quite, it felt balanced. It felt, you know, all the players as well seemed to be either a good amount of game time as well, or at least in some sort of form, and so there was something really positive about it. But yeah, you can't underestimate losing a Kerry Holland and seeing her limp off against Liverpool, whatever. For Liverpool, it was kind of okay just before the qualifiers. I mean, luckily for us, it's against a team that is ranked as is Albania. It was the time to have lost one of your key players in that way. And obviously with the changes in terms of retirements and stuff. So there's still an adjustment, and but I'm confident that that Wilco knows you know, a good number of options in terms of starting 11s and what those combinations could be. But yeah, this was very exciting to see and see them start, like, you know, from the beginning. Because we've missed the likes of Elise Hughes, we've missed the, you know, her playing up front and being that target, and yet when you've got a Hannah Kane, which is a very different type of target, I was keen to see how they play together. So yeah.
And the fact we've got Sophie Ingle back, you know, and she's playing first team football, you know, and we've got, you know, Raza Roberts coming back in and she's playing first team football. These players are now actually starting to play domestically as well as back from injury internationally. And we've said before, haven't we, Daz, how important it is that you play for your club, you get minutes. Because if you don't get minutes for your club, then it makes it more difficult to play internationally. And we're now starting to get that across the side, players who are actually playing minutes for their domestic clubs.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by, you know, finding form. You know, you've got to be able to play to be able to find it. And okay, it's taken some of them to play for different clubs to find that game time. You know, there was a few of our players have been arguably really good players in a good, much better team, and therefore has been on the bench and not getting the game time. With a little bit of shifting around now, all of these players have got themselves into teams where they're playing regularly, and that's key.
Well, I mean, Hannah Kane scored twice as Cymru continued their positive start to their qualifying. 4,485 fans at the Stoke Kairas, which is great to see. Kane steered Cymru in front early before Elise Hughes' close-ranged strike doubled the home side's lead before half-time. Albania never looked like mustering a response, to be honest. In fact, I thought Albania were really poor. I thought they were more poor than Montenegro, to be honest. And Montenegro in the world rankings are much lower. I thought Albania had offered nothing for me from that point of view. Any hope of a comeback was wiped out early in the second period as Rhiannon Roberts headed in a third for dominant Cymru. Great for her because she's an out-and-out all-life Wrexham fan. To score at the Kairas, I'm sure, was something really special. Kane then guided home her second goal of the night, her 6th in her past 4 internationals, which is a great scoring stat. Cymru cruised to a comprehensive win, and Cymru's second successive victory means they would have had 7 points on the board at the halfway stage of the group phase, which is great. They were knocked off the top spot by Czech Republic's win at 5-0 of Montenegro, so they are in second, but only on goal difference. In fact, if you look at it, actually the goal difference is exactly the same. Head-to-head's exactly the same. You know, it's all. It's setting up.
Alphabetical. I think
it is. I think you're right. I think you're right. I think I'm seeing. You know, it's that time you're thinking. Now you should be called Cymru and not Wales. Because if we were Cymru, we would be in first. But there you go. Maybe that's another thing. I mean, first of all, let's just talk about the game, Daz. I mean, Albania were poor for me. Defensively, they were awful. They left massive holes. I mean, the first goal for me, Mary Griffiths' pass.
I was going to say, it's probably one of the passes of the season I've seen in any game, in any division, in any level. The weight of that pass. So first of all, there's a through ball through to her, which finds them almost like, you know, breaking through the lines, and she's just attacking the channel down the wing and just curves in this wonderful ball, perfectly weighted. I mean, it is genuinely the perfect weight for Hannah Kane to run on it in her stride and take the shot. Now, I am going to take the usual position.
Wait for it, everybody. Whoever had goalkeepers on the bingo card, get your markers out now.
It is like a grand slam of goalkeeping. I think you can argue that the goalkeeper should have come out and met it. I don't think it's that difficult.
The goalkeeper was only 20 years old. I think she lacks experience, and you could see that all the goals.
I know. I mean,
the second goal was very similar to the one that Jamie and I saw when Katie Barker versus Cardiff City, where basically she backed into the keeper drops it, and then she turns and
it's slightly different. I think she drops it first, and then Hughes positions herself to stop the goalkeeper being able to reach the ball. Now, the Albanians were complaining about pushing and shoving, but all she's doing is stopping her momentum and run, and she's just put her hands out so that she doesn't sort of whack straight into her. It looks like she's pushing it away, but that's not on. No, she's made a mistake. She's dropped it, and in true Divock Origi style, nicks it off and scores the. Now, I wouldn't even say it's the easiest goal. I mean, a lot of people are saying like a tap in. I mean, Elise has still got to. She's facing the wrong way. Ultimately, she's still facing away from goal, but she's got the goalkeeper behind her, so she's kind of shielding the ball and pivots, and it's a really. That's a strike of somebody with confidence, and it's really, really refreshing to see after the injury, heartache that she's had over the last, year or so, and the recent months and weeks now, where she's been getting game time and goals, and is making that impact that. Or returning to what we saw when she got her injury. So I think that's I think the goalkeeper coming out for the first one should have done better, but to be honest, Hannah Kane's pass is stroke of the ball is just perfectly timed, and again, somebody who's in confidence, wanting to score goals, is making those runs. And I would say in that first half, that would be my criticism, is that there were other moments where we should, I mean, you're looking at the stats.
Marek has put that pass in a few times and just didn't quite time it right. I mean, we should have been probably about 5-0 up by the end of the
a couple of times she lifted it, and it was a much harder ball to strike. This time it's skimmed across the floor beautifully, so that's why it goes in. But there were dozens of occasions where with more, you're looking at the stats then now. So with 76% of the possession, 14 shots, they only get 5 of them on target. Okay, admittedly 4 of them go in, but 5 of them only on target is probably disappointing. Really, that's probably the disappointing stat. And you could argue there could have been more than the 14. Now, 1 or 2 of those were literally just wide of the post, so they're probably a bit. It's a bit unkind to say that they've only got 5 out of 14, where there was a couple of really good efforts. There was one that was well blocked and deflected away. So yes, I would say though that 14 still feels underwhelming in the sense that they were so dominant. Albania absolutely were not in. I'm surprised they're in this league. That's how we.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. Third goal, great cross. Raza Roberts on the back post does the perfect thing. She heads it right down into the floor as hard as you possibly can. Very, very difficult to defend because the ball's going to bounce at speed and go straight up. Great
textbook. Absolutely textbook. Yeah, no, brilliant. And for once, it was nice to see a bit of a set piece, I guess. Having been a victim of set pieces for months, if not feels like years now, where Cymru, all we talked about was dealing with crosses and corners and set pieces, for the fact that we were able to get a really decent maneuver. She finds the space, does exactly what she needs to do, and deserves results like that, because she's putting in a shift to get back from back into the team regular as she was. So it's nice to see her again and scoring. Not the biggest player, and yet, still able to get the head onto it. Yeah, it just showed how disorganized Albania was, really. And then Hannah, and again,
Wow.
it's just when you've got a centre forward who's fast, agile, moves brilliantly. The defenders didn't know where to look for it, so they were just turning around and she'd gone, and it was that classic comedy moment. But the timing, again, this time from the left-hand side, there's just the timing of it was just wonderful, and again, doesn't break a stride, and knows what she's doing, and the joy. I think for me, it's just watching her score. Is just one of those things where the whole team, to be honest, they were all made up for her. They were all made up for all the goal scorers. In fact, there was a real sort of spirit, and the crowd kind of got with it as well. It was really good backing from the Kairos crowd, and I've heard many, and I think they were probably slightly biased, but there's been many a call out now for making the Kairos the home venue for the women's game. I don't know if you can base it all off one win to say that's
Well, no, it's true. The 2 times they played there in the last 24 months, we've absolutely pasted the opposition twice. So
yeah, but I can we put it into context the opposition?
It's the greatest football ground in the world. That basically means you've got the best chance of winning. That's what we're saying.
I'm not against it being then the national team's home ground, but
hey, listen, the men. It's never going to happen with the men, is it? Because Cardiff are going to have that, and that's understandable. Because until we get a 32,000 seater arena, then that's never going to happen. Jamie, though, from our side, great to see the Kairos, one thing, and the crowd that was there, which was fantastic. But also, I think the most important thing, we've talked about it before with the national women's side, clean sheet. First time in, I think it's something like 11 games or 12 games, we've actually got a clean sheet. Now, I know Albania could not hit a cow's arse with a banjo, so the chances of them actually getting a goal through, but we've seen it. Montenegro, I've never thought Montenegro would have scored against us, and yet they managed to score one. So it was great that we finally got that clean sheet on the board.
Absolutely. I think you're right. Albania were piss poor. I thought Chester would come down the road for a game.
It's like Chester. They're a completely different language. You can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah. But as we always say, you can only beat what's in front of you, and it was a very efficient. It was a very efficient performance. Like you say, the clean sheet. It doesn't matter who the opposition is and the lack of threat that they pose. The clean sheet will be greatly received, because I think from a coaching point of view, and certainly from a defence and goalkeeper point of view, that to them is a big deal, isn't it? For strikers, it's scoring goals. For defenders, it's keeping them out. And I think what's encouraging is the fact that not that long ago, on the back of a poor tournament, we were talking about some of these sort of legacy players who were finishing and moving on and things like that, and we wanted to see the evolution of like the next wave, and we're slowly making strides. It's taken a bit of time. The first few results a couple of months ago weren't great, but now we're starting to find a bit of a rhythm, and some new stars emerging. So look, at all they can keep doing is keep, like I say, beating the opposition, whoever that might be, whatever standard they are. It was, like you say, it was great to see. Unfortunately, I couldn't go because I was working, but it was great to see the game being played at the Kairos. It was nice, great turnout. 4,000 plus there was a great turnout.
Miserable night as usual with the weather.
Yeah.
Great interview at half time with Lily and Marie. On the Wrexham side, which was fantastic.
I heard about that. I've not found the footage of that yet. Unfortunately, the highlights I saw were literally 2 minutes long and was just pretty much the 4 goals. It was hard to find anything more than that. But I was interested to listen to obviously what you guys said about the game, because I know you would have watched it. But great result, brilliant win, clean sheet, happy days. What more do you want?
Daz, obviously, we'll talk about the next Albania game, which is coming fast this Saturday in a bit later in the pod. But you're kind of looking, you're kind of going, well, if we do a similar performance, we're probably going to beat Albania. Montenegro are absolutely the whipping team of this league, because everybody's beating them 5-0, 5-1, 6-0, whatever it is. So you kind of count them out, which means that last game against the Czech Republic down at the CCS, the last game of the group, that's going to be the key game, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think we knew that from as soon as we got the draw the first time around. I mean, I think we did well to get that draw. As much as it was a bit of a steal. I still think we were, capable of doing well against them. I think that was, I think that result just immediately set that final, header up as the decider, because it was clear as day that that's where it was going to go. And okay, it's at home, so it's there for the taking. So let's not get too carried away, though. I always often do in these situations, but let's be realistic. We've still got to get those results against those teams first. We've seen teams before get complacent and not deliver and not achieve what they should be, considering what was predicted. But I think there's something quite exciting about this team. There's about energy, it's about drive, there's fluidity and flexibility. So we're already seeing different formations, different positions that the players take within any of those formations as well. So I think there's a real sort of flexibility. And so if injuries come in, if injuries happen, then whoever comes in has got that potential to sort of slot in really, really comfortably, and or just change it up, and it was great. It was great to see, really positive. New caps as well, in terms of Phoebe Poole as well from Plymouth. So former Barry Town, so Adran League's being represented, which is really,
Really good.
It is, yeah, exactly. It is good. I think the more we can see that pathway, that journey is possible, more girls that see themselves in other players, the better it will be for the Adran League. So that's a massive win for that. But yeah, for as long as we've got everybody firing and everybody fit, I think this, it's all looking very positive. But yeah, it's going to be one hell of a game at the CCS.
Now on the Eat More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. And we've not done this.
I thought we sacked this.
I know, we haven't done this. Well, we've never had any time because we've been so busy. But there's a lot of news this week, so we'll plough through it. First up, Wrexham Academy Under-18s boys have had some important wins and losses in the Football League Youth Alliance over the last few weeks. They played Blackpool Youth, winning 2-1 at home. Fantastic game. Wrexham goals by Julian Wadecki, Estima and Jack Jones. And then they had an absolute barnstorming game away versus Shrewsbury Youth, where they lost 3-4. I mean 4-3, because it was at Shrewsbury. I mean, Shrewsbury took the lead early in the game. Wrexham then hit back with 2 goals, one from Wes Gray and one from Carrick Murphy. Second half, Shrewsbury then scored 2 goals to regain the lead before David Edwards scored to level the tie. And then, unfortunately, he scored an own goal, which gave Shrewsbury the win. Wrexham Academy are currently 4th in the North Division of the league with 45 points on 28 games, 11 points off the top. They next meet Morecambe Under-18s at home on Saturday, the 18th of April, kickoff 11 a.m. BST. And Wrexham Women Under-19s have also had some brilliant wins over the last few weeks. They played Carmarthen Town FC Women Under-19s, coming back from 2 goals down to win 4-3. A goal from Anna Jones and a hat-trick from the goal machine that is Grace Morris. And then they followed it up with a midweek win over TNS Women Under-19s 3-2. Wrexham goals by Olive Cook, assisted by by senior player Liv Fuller, who was playing at the time. Isabel Barnett, who is Ryan Barnett's sister, and the winner by Tilly Ashworth. Wrexham then played Barry Town United in a top-of-the-league clash and came out 3-2 winners. Wrexham's goals, again, by Tilly Ashworth, Sienna Perry and Bella Riley. Wrexham are now top of the Premier Conference table, 2 points ahead of Barry Town United Under-19s with 4 games to go. Jamie, the boys first. I think there's only 2 games left to go. They play Morecambe, and then I'm not sure who they play next. 11 points off the top. I think that I think the league is gone, unfortunately. And they've become runners-up twice in the last 2 seasons. They're probably going to come third, because I think looking at it's difficult because other teams have played different games and number of games, and it's all a bit of a mess because they're trying to move things around. I think they're probably going to come third. I mean, would you say that's a kind of a step backwards to go second, third? Or you kind of thinking, well, no, we're in the mix. Obviously, there's been a large change of staff. It's the right direction.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't be overly critical. I think the key thing is what you just said there is the fact that we're talking about finishes that are second, third, top end of the league. It'd be more of a concern if we were second, third, or whatever, and then we're now talking about we're towards the bottom or whatever. So I think that's the most important thing is that we're in the mix at the top end. As we know, there's an awful lot going on. There's an awful lot going on with the club generally, but with the academy and stuff, there's been an awful lot, like you say, change, staff changes and things. So it's going to take time, and we're not going to. I don't think it's a competition or an age gap that we are going to dominate, because there's too much player churn. I think where you're going to have a frequent turnover of players as they progress and obviously get older and move on and stuff. That you're going to get waves where I think you'll have better seasons than others. So the fact that we've had a bit of consistency of 2 or 3 seasons of like second or third is, for me, I think that's positive, because you got to remember it's not that long ago that we didn't have an academy at all. So we're making good strides, I think.
And Daz, with the Wrexham Women under 19s, they had a bit of a backlog of matches, and to come through, some of these results have been fantastic. I mean, they're continually coming back from being a couple of goals down. In fact, the Barry Town one's the opposite, because they went 3-0 in the lead, and you kind of think it was comfortable, and then Barry Town scored 2 very late goals where you kind of going, whoa, hang on, whoa, stop, calm down, and that was an absolute top of the table clash. I mean, the unfortunate thing is Wrexham's 4 remaining games, 2 of them are versus Connah's Quay. Connah's Quay are nailed at the bottom of the league, but they've just cancelled those 2 games. In fact, Connah's Quay have cancelled a number of games over the last few weeks. By the sounds of it, they can't field a team. And if they can't field a team and they can't finish the league, it's highly probable they'll be ejected from the league. And that means all the results will become null and void. But, I mean, Wrexham Women under 19s, it's possible, having won the under 19s Adran North for 2 seasons in a row, could end up Premier champions.
I mean, you've got to absolutely give them credit for a brilliant, absolutely competing year on year. I mean, it's a worry about they're not, I'm going to say your local rivals, but there's in terms of that area, you don't want to see club numbers dwindling. You want competition, you want options, and you also want it for the good of the game that there are more teams to be played for. So if they can't field a team, that's a bit of a worrying suggestion. But no, I mean, I think there's questions about why are the games so the swing between the first half, second half, whatever it is, that I suppose it's the game of 2 halves that you're talking about with the men's senior team, is that if you've got a lead, can you see it out? Where's that sort of continuity, that stability? Clearly the quality's there. Some great results, a lot of goals. So it bodes well. And if I mean, well, we'll have to see what these next few, whatever that decision is, about whether or not they do.
It's in our hands at the moment. I mean, obviously, if Connah's Quay do get ejected, it will affect everybody, because everybody has got some. In fact, everybody has beaten Connah's Quay this season. So they're the Pontypridd United of the under 19s. From that point of view.
But you had 2 games coming up with them. Yeah. Which would have been potentially, points that everybody else has had.
Absolutely.
And of course, they may be dropping them, but they would have been, or hopefully could have been, 6 points for yourselves to really compete. So hopefully that swing, either way, means that you'll benefit from it in that position. But to be honest, it would be better if they fielded a team and then you still beat them. Would be the more palatable version, because at least then a club like that still got his academy in place and hopefully won't get ejected, because getting back into these setups is much harder. So field a team, and at least even if it's do poorly, it's better than getting ejected from the league.
Absolutely, and Wrexham's last 2 games are Ponty United home and away, and they're mid-table, so it's still all to play for from that point of view. I mean, Wrexham under 19s women, with the announcement that's been made this week, could end up like Liverpool in the 80s with the Milk Cup and keep it, because following a review by the FAW, it's now been confirmed that they will not be running an under 19s North stage or national under 19 stage for the 26-27 season. This decision has been made due to financial constraints of national fixtures, scheduling of games, and insufficient club entry trees to deliver a viable and meaningful fixtures programme, according to the FAW. Due to this, Wrexham AFC Women will not operate an under-19s team for the upcoming 26-27 campaign. As a club, they remain committed to growing women's football and will be forming a closer working relationship with the Wrexham AFC Foundation under the strategic aim of helping to develop football in primary schools with the local community. For the forthcoming season, they will also be adding an under-15 side to the FA Girls Academy setup. An under-17 side will also be created for the 27-28 campaign as they continue to add younger age groups to future years to develop and enhance the overall offering. A lot of stuff on social media about this. A lot of people, in uproar. FAW makes putting out statements. Wrexham putting out statements. So I'm trying to keep level-headed on this from that point of view, because I know, I know it's quite a diversive thing. I mean, Jamie, some people are saying, listen, if you haven't got the players and you haven't got the teams, you can't have a league. So it's whether we think it's wrong or it's right, it's irrelevant. But when the FAW start talking about financial constraints and scheduling of games, that for me is not an excuse. If there are no players, that's an excuse. But not having the money is not an excuse. If you're going to develop football, you have to develop it across all age groups. That includes under-19s. But some people are saying, yeah, but 19s, I mean, Mark Swales, head of women's football from Wrexham, said, to be fair, if you're 19 and you're not playing for a first team, it's probably too late for you to become a professional footballer at the highest level. I mean, what are your thoughts? I'll get your thoughts in a second, Daz. What are your thoughts on it, Jamie, from what you've read?
So when this first came out, my immediate reaction was probably the same as a lot of other people's, where it was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Can't be doing this. It's the whole north-south thing again. What a load of nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And then as the time went on a little bit, and the thing for me which was most significant was, and I forget who it was, forgive me, but sort of a reasonably well-known Wrexham fan on X had put a post, sort of highlighting his discontent at the announcement. And then there was a thread of conversation there where Noel Mooney himself replied, and then Mark Swales replied, and there was a bit of a conversation. And when you actually look into it, one of the key things here is the fact that, look, I agree with you. I think from a monetary point of view, the funding to run it, that shouldn't really be a consideration, and that's a bigger question. I mean, hasn't the FAW today announced that they've posted a loss of something like 3.4 million quid, did I see earlier on? Yeah. Despite record turnover. So you can, purely from a business point of view, you can kind of understand that they're going to be looking at saving money. The most significant thing for me that came out of this was, I think Mark Swales in one of his replies or one of his posts, he said something about the fact that all the clubs were included in the conversation for this, and Wrexham agreed with it and didn't put a team, propose to put a team forward for it. And I think that's also a very valid point that he's made there about the fact that if you're 19 and you're not knocking on the door of the first team, realistically, are you going, are you going to make it? And maybe that's a little bit too broad of a statement, but it kind of makes a lot of sense. So, look, it's disappointing, and it is sad for the players and the families involved. But now the dust settled a little bit. I can kind of understand it. We've spoken about it a bit, haven't we? About look generally at how it's a relatively low supported side of the game, particularly in Wales. Even if you look at like the Adran Prem, the attendances generally are low. 8 teams in the league. It's there needs a lot of investment, doesn't it? It needs to grow massively, and I can kind of understand, even though it is a sad situation to be in, I can understand it, because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, football is a business, isn't it? And they're going to be looking at numbers.
Daz, when we look at the international side, the senior side, very, very, very few of those players have come through the Welsh system. They've all come through the English system, training-wise, even if they are of direct Welsh heritage rather than, the hereditary from grandmother, grandfather, whatever it may be. Well, obviously, FAW still have the academies, the North and South academies. So the kind of they identify the really what they would call the top players, and they do put those into a pathway to try and get them to senior international level. But football is for all, from all the levels. So the fact is that are we losing this under 19s? Does that not matter because we have enough of under 9s, under 11s, under 15s, or does it need that stepping stone to go from under 15s, under 16s to get to under 21s? And that gap is going to be a problem.
No, I don't think it'd be a problem. I think it's a shame. I mean, I think the broad question is, the women's game in Wales is still relatively young. I mean, at the end of the day, it's taken a relatively short period of time to get to where we're at now, and where the women's team are flag bearers, and yes, they do come through the English setup. That is still the same for the men's game. Okay, so I don't think we can be completely unfair on the system when the men are no different. All the youth players, whether it's Bale goes off to Southampton and then to Tottenham, Giggs is poached and he goes up to Manchester, Harry Wilson goes to Liverpool. It's still the case now. There are very few players who play for the Welsh national team who would have started in the Welsh Prem. So I don't think it's fair to say to the women's game that it's all lost because they're not coming through the system. Secondly, though, I do think the numbers available to choose from are significantly smaller. So I do think the FAW know where to find the talent. They can find the talent quicker, or certainly the word will get out like, oh, there's this kid who's really good and you need to come and see them. And so, yes, the North and South academies are doing their thing, but also all the scouts of all those clubs as well are going to be doing the same thing. And that's how it's always been. So I'm not averse to all of that. I think the disappointment for me is the thinking is that you remove something rather than further invest to try and, I don't know, play to the advantage or make the change in a more positive way rather than a negative sort of reaction to an outcome. Do you know what I mean? So if we're not getting the numbers, then what is it that we need to do? Is it create more teams? Is it about creating more leagues at lower levels so that they start feeding up? What I haven't thought it through, but there must be a way to try and capitalize on getting to the World Cup. A strong start for the Euro qualifiers. It's all the things that you want to be positive about. Just the numbers we saw watching the game at the Kairos, that's not the norm. The Gennaro League, we were talking about this last week. It's a really, really difficult one to sort of promote and sell, and so numbers are low because regional football in the men's team is low. I mean, you don't get. I mean, there's.
Although the Welsh Cup final last week, I thoroughly enjoyed Flint and Carnarvon Town. That was an absolute belter. And to see Chiselvic, ex-Wrexham player, score the third goal was just great.
You do realize you just pronounced that Chiseldick.
Yeah, sorry, Chiselvic.
It's Chiselvic. No, but he's a former TNS player. So
yes, absolutely, yeah. But no, it was a great. I mean, that was a great advert for Welsh football. And we normally see TNS, and I don't watch it.
Yeah, no, and there's two parts about that, which is I was about to say Carnarvon are the good again standard bearer for good crowds, home and away. They do have a really good travelling crowd. Model fans in the sense that they are, passionate, love a good day out. It's what the regional game's all about. But the fact that they've never won anything in the history of the club, so to have won a trophy for them is fantastic.
Well, not a trophy, the Welsh Cup. I mean, that's
no, absolutely. Right there. The only thing that's better than that is the league, but nobody's going to get anywhere near TNS over the whole season. TNS can lose a game once or twice a season. Happen to be on the way to the cup, but it doesn't happen very often. But I think that's the difference, though, is that even then we're still talking low well, I'm going to boldly go National League, maybe even North or South conferences. You know, it's miles away. And then when you think that we're expecting this to be part of the feeder for the international, we got ourselves in such a situation that we need the England setup to develop and build our quality players, because we just don't have it here. We just don't have that strength and depth. And any quality player, male or female, WSL, get yourself into one of those big teams, is going to be the way if you want to make it in that route. You might find they'll come through Cardiff or Wrexham or Swansea, maybe on their way to WSL. In the same way, you've got this bit of a WSL 2 feeding into Wrexham at the moment, which is quite exciting. I still can't see where the two convergences are coming together at the moment, and maybe it's Europe, maybe it's playing in European football. So if you're a level that is arguably 2, you're not going to get a Champions League spot. Come to Wrexham and you might get to play in Europe, and that's where that crosses over. Just
we did a great pod, as Jamie calls it, a fair pod this week, the halftime with Del Morgan, where we had Becca, the assistant manager, where we had her on, and we recorded it last night. It's coming out; it'll be out probably today as we come out. Great. Because there's lots of insights of stuff over the season that we've kind of not seen, because they talk about what happened behind the scenes. It's well worth it. Really enjoyable. One of the most enjoyable interviews I've been involved with. So that's great. So look out for that one. Cymru under-19s men now know the 7 teams that will join them as they host the first men's age group major tournament later this year, following the completion of the elite rounds. Led by Chris Gunter, Cymru will compete alongside 7 of Europe's top sides in the 2026 UEFA European Under-19 Championship finals, which will be held in North Wales. Croatia, who knocked out France, Denmark, who knocked out Belgium, Germany, Italy, who knocked out Turkey, Serbia, who knocked out England. Thank you, Serbia. And Spain, who remained unbeaten, who knocked out the Netherlands, and Ukraine, who have secured places in the final tournament after topping their respective elite round groups last week. The winners of the 7 mini tournaments progressed to join host Cymru in this competition, and the final tournament draw took place today at the William Aston Hall in Wrexham, where Cymru were drawn in Group A, the same group as Denmark, last year's semi-finalists, Germany, and 9 times winners, 2024 winners, and last year's finalists, Spain. Ouch. Matches will be played between the 28th of June and 11th of July, with the tournament also serving as a qualifier for the 2027 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. And guess what, Daz? The tournament opening game on that 28th of June will be probably at the Stoke City, so they've not announced it yet. It will be Cymru versus Spain.
Spain.
Of course. So, I mean, Denmark, Germany, Spain. And even at under-19s level, it's terrifying, but what a fantastic opportunity for those lads to come up against the best future prospects for world football.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's no doubt it'll be an experience. I want to be positive. I want to be, but you also don't want to demoralize. You don't want to sort of damage these kids. I'm hoping that they're more aware, more realistic about what it is that they can achieve, because we haven't qualified in the same way. It's by being hosts you do get privileges, but I think there's enough time to prep for it and there's enough time to be ready. But I do think there's no under us. They are probably as tough as a group as what the women got in the World Cup. In terms of last year's finalists, last year's winners, or previous winners and semi-finalists. I mean, they are literally caliber. All of the, any one of those 3 could win this tournament. So just to be in that group, but it'll be a lesson. I just hope it's met in the spirit and utilized in the right way, rather than, I don't know, do you go and defend just because you're going to be under the cosh? Because that feels like, it hardly feels a point in doing that. What is it that you're going to learn about yourself? So, but you also don't want to drop in. So let's hope. But I haven't seen what have they got any friendlies or any sort of other games coming up before the tournament? I
think they've
haven't
got. I think they've got some games. I think yes.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head, but
I haven't seen anything.
There
So
are some announced. I mean, my concern, Daz, is Chris Gunter obviously is manager of the 19s, but he also does under 17s. He wasn't at the ceremony today because he was out in San Marino. So
yeah,
should a manager be covering two age groups, particularly when one of those age groups is heavily going to be involved in a major finals?
I think he'll be fine because there aren't enough games and the tournaments aren't all year round. So it's not really a post that you can get somebody of Gunter's sort of experience to stay in it full term if it was a properly part-time role, because he's got nothing to go and see and watch and all of the minimal amount anyway. But actually, I think what's really useful about that is the under-17s know him. And then when they do step up to 19s, then it's a smoother transition. But how brilliant is it to have somebody so significant, so successful from a Welsh legend point of view as your coach? So that's amazing. The team out in San Marino did well in the first game. I think I think clock what they did in the second game, but I think they it's the under-17s are doing well. The under-19s, this is a great opportunity. So let's see how it goes for them.
Jamie, I don't think the new stand's going to be finished in time for it, to be honest with you. The two towers apparently are called Rex and Ham. I found out today. Didn't even know that. Didn't even know they were giving them names. That stand's definitely not going to be ready because.
Considering the original plan was it was going to be ready for this tournament. Not so much.
Unless there's a major building between now and June the 28th.
It's all pre-built, fabricated off-site, and they just bring it in and drop it in.
I was going to say, that we made out of Lego, I think, if it was going to be finished.
Put in by Merlin the Magician, I think, definitely. Maz Mahmood was called up for the Pakistan squad in the forthcoming 2026 FIFA series. She took on 3 nations in round-robin international tournament. They played the Turks and Caicos Islands and won 8-0 with Maz scoring a goal. They played Mauritania, where they lost 1-0, and they're currently playing Ivory Coast, where I believe they're 1-0 down at half-time. All the games taking place in the Ivorian city of Abidjan. Mahmood has been called up once again after impressing in the last camp. And the final game of the Asian Cup qualifying in July, the forward scored 2 goals against Kyrgyzstan, her first international goals for her country. I mean, Jamie, again, it shows the level now that Wrexham Women are having. The fact we've got internationals playing for us, who are off to Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, I think for any footballer, professional, semi-professional, I think to represent your country is a huge honour, isn't it? I mean, I saw a little bit of footage from the game where she scored the goal, and like Daz was saying before, with the level of celebrations in the Wales women's game, you could see how euphoric she was, and the team were when she scored the goal. It obviously means a great deal, doesn't it? I mean, again, I have no idea what kind of general caliber of player that they've got to pick from, or what kind of standard we're talking about. I can't profess to have watched any games, to be honest with you, but as an honour as a footballer to be picked for your country, it's a lot of professionals, and we'll always say it's like the ultimate honour, isn't it, is to play for your country. So pleased with her. Like you say, it's good that even playing, for Wrexham in the Welsh League, you get recognised, and she's getting recognised for her performances and being picked for her national team.
Hit streaming series Welcome to Wrexham, which has been charting the revival of the city's football team, has been renewed for a further 3 seasons, according to the BBC. Reynolds announced the series' renewal to his 50 million Instagram followers, saying Season 5 premieres on May the 14th, and we've been renewed for 3 more. Congrats to our Emmy-winning doc team, the town, and Wrexham AFC for always making things so dramatic and stressy. Good for TV, bad for blood pressure. I can completely and utterly agree with that. The FX series, which is available through Disney Plus in the UK, launched in 2022, chronicling the actors' takeover of the club. It's won 10 Emmy Awards and 2 Critics' Choice Television Awards. Jamie, if only they had something to film.
I know, yeah, it's been crap, hasn't it?
I mean, are you Monty? Stop it, Monty.
The cat's shagging his bed.
Excellent, good.
Brilliant.
He enjoys it.
Yeah. Well, he's just.
I mean,
finished.
were you surprised? I mean, obviously, we've got season 5 that was already announced, and we knew that was coming. And we've talked before about how long do we think there's going to be of this? How long can they keep series going? Another 3 series to take it to series. What's that? 6, 7, 8. I mean, that's a lot.
I'm thrilled that they've made this announcement, but I was shocked that they've done 3 seasons. I mean, for any TV series, no matter how kind of successful or how big it is, it's generally unheard of. To announce for an announcement of 3 seasons to be commissioned at once. I mean, what this tells you, I think, is a couple of things. I think one is that obviously financially it works for them. I mean, I can't imagine it's got huge production costs. Yes, it's obviously there's going to be costs, but I can't imagine the huge production costs. They're obviously happy with the viewing figures that they're getting globally, because again, TV ratings, that'll be a huge thing, won't it? And there are, with the awards, that it's won countless awards and everything else. So from that point of view, it doesn't surprise me. The main reason why I was surprised they announced the 3 seasons is, you and I and the 3 of us on here know that realistically, we could be still having a conversation in 5 years' time about Wrexham being in the Championship.
Yeah.
And, we could have the next 3 seasons of just acclimatise. This season might be a bit of an anomaly. We might have 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons now where we just become a stable Championship side. And that wouldn't be a bad thing, but I'm not sure it would make great TV. So if I'm being honest, it feels to me like they're having a little bit of a gamble. I think what they're doing here is they're thinking, well, look at what they've done this season. If we'll commit to 3 seasons and gamble on the fact that in one of those 3 seasons we will get the promotion. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, the thing with it is it's not, as we've always said, it's not just about the football, though, is it? Yes, I know it's tailored around the football team, but they do an incredible job of storytelling. Businesses, people's stories, and I think that's what makes it so special. So from that perspective, there's still plenty of stories to tell. Like I say, just go down to Queen's Park on a Saturday night with a camera crew, and you'll have loads of footage.
Street Kebab House on a Saturday night, that'll be weird. Yeah. I mean, guys, as we said, and you said before, your family watch it, and it's not about for the football; it's about the stories around the football. And this season, they're going to get it because they're going to do Wrexham get into the playoffs or not? Do Wrexham get promoted or not? We're close. Obviously, you've got the whole stuff about the women, which is a massive success story. I think that will be a big part of this series, certainly. But obviously, moving forward 3 years, the big one's going to be the COP.
The stadium. I was going to say, I think they're onto a safe bet for at least a year because they know they can document the journey that they've been on with that stadium upgrade. Because the first season started with a conversation about don't we knock down the COP? How do we make it safe? It feels like one more season would have made absolute sense. Now, my worry is, do they think it's going to take that long to build the COP and they need 3 seasons? That would be my worry for you guys. I think the success this year is already there in the women's game. So regardless of what the men do, if they get another, I think Jamie's right. I think there's an element of a gamble that they hope that within 1 or 2 of these seasons, maybe there's another race on. Whether the promotion.
I mean, it could be relegation. Could be relegation.
Well, it could be. I know Jamie avoided that in his.
He didn't say the R word,
and that's okay. No. That's okay. But in terms of a documentary maker, they're going to want something of note. Otherwise, like you said, it's not interesting.
You don't want 3 seasons of Wrexham being in 15th, do you? That's
to be honest. All I'm thinking now, you're talking about documenting the COP. I haven't really thought about that, but all I've got running through my head now is they're going to get, what's his name, that George Clark to host it. Amazing Space. Talking about the new COP being built. It's just going to be like, what's that program called? Grand Designs. Yeah, it's just going to be it's going to be.
So here we are, 5 years on, £50 million over budget, and we're still living in a caravan. You know, that kind of thing is what you're talking about.
He usually goes back like 5 years after he starts filming that guy. So
absolutely.
So I think the stadium will be quite an interesting story to capture historically, and I think a little bit of cynicism here. I think that's going to be part of their legacy. I think that's going to be part of their legacy as owners. Is regardless, you could talk about the back-to-back is already part of that legacy. But I think a lasting sort of, you guys will remember how that COP came about, because it was, this huge investment, this uptake. And my last bit of cynicism is that, of course, this, because you know me. I would say that the documentary does help your gait and footfall on a basis that, for as long as the documentary still exists, there are people still coming across it, still invested, and they still want to come and visit.
A prime example of that is Jamie. We both know Cryptic Simon. He's currently in Wrexham for over a month, living in the Premier Inn. He's been to see 3 games of the women and the men, and hasn't seen a single win. He's come all the way from Tasmania. I mean, the poor. I'm just going to think, you poor bugger.
It's not cynical at all. It's a very, very, very good point, because as well, when you think back to those accounts that were released last week, and was it, I think 54% of the turnover comes from overseas. It makes perfect sense, because the documentary is the gateway, isn't it? And I think you've got to remember that it's not open to like the Far East territories, is it? Which is a whole other ballpark. So there's probably more to it than we think. But
I can just see a direct pipeline from North Korea to Wrexham right now. Just getting those people over the border. Right, fancy some fried potatoes, fried with love.
No
Juice. Must be time for the chip shop.
No.
Jamie and Daz are on point, anticipating how many points I can award myself as the season ends, because it's coming. Let's look at this week's chip shop table, shall we? You've gone pink again.
My lights just died.
I thought you got angry. Jamie managed to break his streak eventually, but first of all, he predicted Wrexham to beat Birmingham, whereas Daz and I had the sense to say that Birmingham would beat Wrexham, and we got a point for that. Both of us just missed out on the bullseye. And then Cymru Women versus Albania Women. You and Daz tried to cancel each other out by saying 3-0. I bet you were absolutely tamping when Hannah Kane put that 4th goal in, because you were both thinking about bullseye. No,
I didn't try to cancel him out. If you remember, I just deployed absolute shithousery and just matched what he said.
And I was like, how come when I want to not have a clean sheet, it doesn't happen? So, yeah, it's always the way. Anyway, Daz and I both got a point for both of those. Jamie only got 1 point for his one, which means that 92 games played now. Jamie has 56 points. Daz on 92 games, 50 points, 6 points behind, with only 5 games to go. It's getting near to that time, unfortunately. I'm third, 92 points with 92 games, 46 points, 4 points behind Daz, 10 points behind Jamie. I don't think I can win it now. I don't think it's possible. Or can I? Because it's never too late. It's never too late. Still all to play for. Just saying it. Anyway, I can't wait for the end of the season when we actually do this, because I'm sure you're going to be tamping. It's going to be hilarious. Anyway, first into the fryer tonight. And please let it be a better performance than Sunday. It's Stoke City. So Saturday, 18th of April, Stoke Cymru kick-off. Classic, finally, 3 p.m. BST at home. We play Stoke City. Last played away in October, where Stoke won 1-0 with a cross-come shot from a very vocal Sorba Thomas. And I'm sure Wrexham fans will return the favour come Saturday, because a lot of us won't forget. At that point, Stoke were 3rd in the table, which is incredible. But they've slipped down in the last 6 months and are now 16th in the table. 15 wins, 10 draws, 17 losses. Goal difference of +3 and 55 points. 9 points behind Wrexham, but 11 points away from the relegation zone. So as Jamie said, They have nothing at all to play for whatsoever, apart from pride. The last 5 results: a 3-1 win at home to Watford, a 3-1 loss away at Preston, a 2-0 win at home to Sheffield Wednesday, a 2-0 loss away at Derby, and a 1-1 draw at home to Blackburn Rovers. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, we said it last week after Southampton, we would like a signature display, to bounce back, because we've seen all season. We got a signature display, just not the signature we wanted. Thank you very much. We are at home. Stoke have nothing to play for. They are very erratic when you look at their form. They're all over the shop. I said it last week. Was that a must-win game? Surely now this is it. We lose Saturday, then we can definitely dispel any chance whatsoever of getting into the playoffs.
Fair. Yeah, fair. I think the bottom line is we if you're being brutally honest, I think we've got to win every game we've got left. I think it's going to be that kind of tight. I think certainly, without looking too far ahead, just looking at this game, it's must win. If we want to keep our hopes of grabbing that 6th place going, we have to win. Simple as that. I just like I alluded to before. The thing is, it's not the first time I've said this. Not the first time I've heard fans say this in the past. I just want to see us take the handbrake off and just go for it. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's Parky's way, and you can't criticise him, for being more defensively minded, because look what he's achieved. But I just think to myself, you've had 3 poor performances. If you look at our last 3 games, West Brom, Southampton, Birmingham, 3 poor performances and 1 point from those 3 games. One of those games, 20
minutes probably of 20, maybe 30 minutes of really good football that managed to squeak the draw against West Brom. The rest of it,
yeah. But let's not forget that we gave them a 2-goal head start, which you can't, which we've done on more than one occasion. We managed to get a point from that game. Let's be honest, we were absolutely battered by Southampton.
Yeah.
And
deservedly.
Yeah,
they were
we just absolutely didn't turn up against Birmingham. So, I just want to see us take the handbrake off and go for it at minute 1. I mean, I listened to Parky's presser earlier on, and he seemed to suggest that that's what he was looking to do. So,
but he also said that Vine is out. He's injured, and he's also said that Sheaf has had a setback. Yeah.
To be fair with Sheaf, I think the murmurings in the last week, 10 days about him possibly being back, I think was a pleasant shock to us all, because I think as far as we were all concerned, he was done for the season. So the thought that he might be able to get back was crazy anyway, because as far as I was concerned, he was out for the season. Look, he's, even if he does get back before the end of the season, realistically, what's he gonna be able to offer us? He's going to be well short of match sharpness, and he's not going to have the games to get up to speed. So I'm not pinning anything on him coming back. I think I just want to see a more positive, proactive performance than what we saw against Birmingham. We've scored a lot of goals this season, and to score goals at this level, you have to do something right. And I just want to see us have a little bit more faith in our players, a little bit more faith in the players we've got available and their abilities, and just go at Stoke. I really do, because I don't think, other than the Sorba Thomas thing, there's no, unlike Birmingham last week, where even though they didn't really have anything to play for, I said last week that I just had this feeling with Birmingham, because there's been this faux rivalry over the last couple of seasons. But there's nothing with Stoke. There's nothing other than the Sorba Thomas thing. There's nothing. So I can't see they're going to be massively up for the game to want to put one over on us. There's no history or anything like that. The onus is all on us. We're at home. It's a crucial game if we still want to hold on to hopes of getting promotion. And I think to try and build some momentum for the last 3 games, we need a solid win and a solid performance. To carry us then into Tuesday, because that's going to be a bloody hard game as well.
I mean, obviously, apart from you saying they've got nothing on us, but everybody at the moment wants to beat Wrexham because it's the whole we want to spoil the fairy tale, as people call it, which, there you go, that's it. Daz, Stoke have been erratic. They've been very erratic when you look at their performances. I watched them, and away they're very poor. I watched them in a game a couple of weeks ago, and they were terrible. They're absolutely awful. I asked this question a number of times during the season. What's more important here? The performance or the result? It's a difficult one for me.
I think at this stage in the season, it's always the result. It's always the result. I think, going back to what we said before, if they were to build a couple of decent performances into those results, would help them if they made the playoffs. I do think that there's a mentality that if you're playing well going into those games, then you never know. But I think at this stage, if you're serious about another promotion, then of course it's the result. It doesn't matter how you get it. It can be 1-0 off the backside of,
Silver Thomas.
So
ideally,
one goal.
Ideally, that'd be great.
I have mixed feelings about that, but I think there's every potential that I still, I was just having a quick look to see what Hull, who Middlesbrough have got Ipswich coming up, so there's teams around you that have still got some big games to go yet, and so you never know. I mean, I think the Middlesbrough Ipswich game is not until Sunday, so
surely we're past the point now. We have to worry about anybody else. We have to do our thing now.
No, but I think in terms of answering your first question, is this a must-win game? I mean, of course, every game's a must-win game. You go in wanting to win every game.
Yeah.
Is it over if you lose? I still don't think it is mathematically. Of course, it's not mathematically, but I still think you've got that potential if the likes of Hull and Middlesbrough are wobbling around you, and it looks like they are. So let's see what Hull do. Who's Hull got?
Birmingham. They've got Birmingham.
So which Birmingham turns up for that game? It'll be interesting.
Guarantee it'll be the rubbish one, the one we should have played. But there you go.
So, but yeah, so it'll be, yeah. I think you've You're right. Stoke have got less, other than the Wrexham target on your backs will never go. That's never going to go until you're in the Prem, and then suddenly everybody up there has got a target. You want to beat your Man U's, you want to beat your Chelsea's, your Man City's, Liverpool's, or whatever.
Well, beating Man U's quite easy, isn't it? That's not difficult these days.
I don't say that as much these days, because somehow they've managed to squeak that. Anyway. Anyway, that target's still on your back, and I think Stoke will still be looking for it. So tough games all the way for you guys, I'm afraid. But but they are still winnable.
Absolutely. Jamie, obviously, we've made a lot in the past about the power of the Stoke Kairos. Daz has used the word fortress a number of times. Doesn't feel like it has been this season, really. Even though we've been very positive at home, doesn't feel like that major fortress. What do we need to do Saturday to bring back that feeling of really making it uncomfortable for the visiting side? Because even if we can get that 1 or 2% difference, that might make the difference between a win and a draw or a win and a loss.
Are you talking about the atmosphere?
Yeah.
Okay. So, look, it's been a very inconsistent atmosphere this season. I know we spoke about it at different points in the season, and I hate it. To be honest, I hate talking about the atmosphere, because.
But I love a party with a happy atmosphere.
Thank you, Russ.
Mel, welcome.
I don't particularly like talking about it, because I have slightly differing views to a lot of other people with regards to the atmosphere. I certainly don't think it helps only having 3 sides to a ground. But it has been quite inconsistent this season. We've had some home games which have been brilliant atmospheres, and we've had some which have been really flat. It's hard to say, because a little bit like the team, you don't kind of know what you're going to get. You can have all the rallying calls beforehand, get behind them, but it sometimes doesn't happen like that. I do firmly believe, I've said this before, and I do firmly believe that I think yes, there is a responsibility on the crowd to play their part, but I also do believe as well that the crowd's enthusiasm and levels are driven by what's going on the pitch. And I think if you're watching a dross shit game where the performance is poor, the levels of effort are poor, that's gonna have an impact on how you are in the stand. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully it will be a good atmosphere. Like I say, it'll be odd that it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday, because it seems like forever ago when we played 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Yeah. I believe, or I've heard a rumor that this game could be the annual United Airlines
apparently so
game.
Yeah,
so,
well, this will be the last 3 o'clock, because we've got 7:45 against Oxford. Coventry is a 12 o'clock Sunday kickoff, and Middlesbrough, the last game of the season, is a 12:30. So yes, this is the last 3 p.m. of the season.
But hopefully it will be a good performance, which will then lead to a good atmosphere, and it will be a good day at the office. And if it is the United Airlines annual something day, then hopefully I'll get a small pair of gloves to go with my small hat and small scarf that I've got.
Exactly. Built for a 3-year-old. Certainly doesn't fit my fat head, let's be honest. So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Stoke City?
So Wrexham 3. The only thing I can't decide is whether we can keep a clean sheet, and I'm not overly confident we can keep a clean sheet. 3-1 to Wrexham.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Stoke City?
3. I haven't gone 3. I've gone 2. Equally, the 2 scores I've written down is clean sheet or a singular goal. Let's go with my original hunch, which was 2-0 to Wrexham.
And I'm predicting Wrexham 2, Stoke City 1. I don't agree with either of you. I think we will let in a goal, because I think defensively at the moment we're all over the shop, unfortunately. Back to basics means back to leaky basics, unfortunately. I denied whether this was going to be a 1-0 win, and one of those squeaky back to basics for me was getting back to League One, where we tightened up at the back, really tight, and then tried to squeak one single goal and win it by 1. And I still think that might happen, but I'm hoping that we can do it a bit more. I agree with you guys, though. I think it's important that we take the handbrake off. I would rather lose on Saturday 3-0, knowing that we have absolutely played our arse off and hit 15 shots.
I can guarantee you now, if we're losing 3-0, you will be fucking raging.
Of course I will.
You won't be sitting there going, "Yeah, well done, boys. Great performance. Yeah, great performance."
But I'd rather that than what I watched on Sunday, because what I watched on Sunday was awful. It was really, really bad. It was a massive step backwards for me. And
anyway, for the purposes of this Chip Shop League, let's be honest, it doesn't matter what you think.
Okay, thanks for that. Cheers. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer tonight, it's Albania Women again. So Saturday, 18th of April at the Elbasan Arena in Albania. Kick-off 2 hours after Wrexham, 5 p.m. BST. Cymru Women are away to Albania Women. And of course, it is the return game in Group B1, following on from the Cymru 4-0 win on Tuesday. And the chips are done. So Daz, very little to say on this one, because obviously we've already reviewed what we did at the Stoke Ras. I mean, it is away, so there is the travelling. I know for a fact that it's quite warm out there, because when we were doing our interview last night with the Wrexham assistant manager, Del Morgan was on the interview with us, who's out in Albania at the moment with the camp, and she was by the swimming pool. And she looked like she was boiling away. So it looked as if it's quite hot. So obviously there's different weather conditions, travel. They're at homes. They're more comfortable. But the Albania we saw, is that going to be enough to tip the balance towards Albania, do you think?
I mean, it feels unlikely that it's going to be as much of a swing as that. Yes, heat, and weather conditions, makes a difference. But I can't imagine that the side that we saw play that much better just because they were playing at home. So I don't think the women's team got not anything to worry about. I think if they play the way they did this week, the next game should be okay. Whether it'll be as many attempts on goal, whether or not we'll see more from them, because I think they were so underwhelming. They were particularly poor. So that would be a surprise to me if it was the same dominance. So I imagine the percentages would kind of increase a little bit to favour Albania, but I still didn't see a team there that's remotely in a position where they can match a free-flowing, fit, and well-drilled team as was Wilkinson's side this week. So no, I don't see anything but another Wales win. It's just is it going to be as convincing? Hard one to tell.
So Simon's hot vinegar and sauce coch. Daz, you can tell us right now. What is your score prediction for Albania women versus Cymru women?
Okay, I was just intrigued to know. I was going to wait to see what you guys thought, but okay. I don't think Albania will score. I think they were that lackluster. I think even the home advantage. So I'm going for Albania 0, Cymru women 2.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Albania women versus Cymru women?
I thought he was going to say 3. I was going to go the same. Purely
you could read an absolute cock block, couldn't you? Now, the same as you did last week.
And I'm going to 2-0 to Wales.
And I'm predicting. Well, I can't cock block, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to say Albania 0, Cymru 3. I think I agree with Daz. I think it won't be as strong a performance by Cymru because of the number of things. But I mean, knowing my luck now, Albania will turn up and they'll be a completely different Albania. They'll do a Birmingham on us, but can't see it from what we've seen so far. So you can only see a comfortable Cymru win. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last into the fryer tonight, it's Oxford United. So Tuesday, 21st of April at the Kazam Stadium. Yes, it does exist, Jamie. Kickoff 7:45 p.m. BST. Kazam Stadium. Wrexham are away at Oxford to play Oxford United. They last played at the racecourse in October. Wrexham won 1-0. Nathan Broadhead scored the goal early on, and then Callum Doyle was sent off with a straight red in the 67th minute, and Wrexham then had to survive for 20 minutes with 10 players. Oxford have been flirting with relegation all season and currently find themselves 22nd in the league. 10 wins, 14 draws, 18 losses, a goal difference of -13 and 44 points, currently 2 points away from safety, although they do play Derby County away before playing us in this game. Currently, their last 5 results: a 1-1 draw at home to Charlton, a 2-0 loss away at Southampton, a 1-1 draw at home to Hull, a 2-2 draw away at Portsmouth, and a 2-0 win at home to Watford. And the chips are done. That's interesting one, this one, because Oxford are doing that relegation team thing of they're fighting tooth and nail. And even though they're only getting draws, they're starting to crawl their way out. And we've heard the news this week that possibly, and this must be an absolute gutter if you're a West Brom fan, they could be docked points due to a PSR irregularity. And the rules are that because they did it last season, they have to be served with it this season, which means that potentially they could get a 3 points deduction in the last couple of games of this, which I think is mad. That's crazy and so cruel. I mean, don't get me wrong, you shouldn't break the rules, but
yeah, well, there's your starting point. It's so cruel to the fans. It's cruel to the players, who are playing, seem to be beginning to Sorry, no, West Brom, players we're talking about now.
Yeah.
No, it is cruel to them, but the club, like you said, it happened. They know what the rules are. It's
I mean, they're saying this is all basically down to interest payments on loans made by the previous owner, and the current owners are saying those loans shouldn't be part of PSR because they're away from football. They're private. They're to deal with the new owners of the club. And the PSR regulators are saying, no. It's part of the club's debts. Therefore, it's part of the football club. Therefore, it should have been submitted as part of your accounts in December, and you didn't submit them. You separated them, and you shouldn't have done. And if you include those, you go over your limit, and so therefore, it's a PSR irregularity in 3 points. I mean, to do it now, I think is wrong. There should be if you go into administration, March is a cutoff. So if you go to administration before March, after March, sorry, you don't get any sanctions until the next season because they go, no, let's keep the integrity of the league and let's have it so that you're not worried about that. Did you hear today Sheffield Wednesday have basically been told, you're going to get 15 points deducted next season when you're in League One?
The problem that you've got is although what you're saying is right with regards to it's bad for it's terrible for the fans, for the players, etc. Everyone else, particularly the teams around them, will be saying if they've broken the rules, then they should serve the penalty accordingly.
If you're Sheffield Wednesday or Leicester, absolutely, because you've both.
The crazy thing is if West Brom did get a points deduction and ended up going down, I bet that surely would be the first time potentially that the three teams that have gone down have all gone down with a points deduction, because you'll have Sheffield Wednesday. It looks, for as crazy as it sounds to say, it looks like Leicester are going to go
massive,
which is nuts to say that.
I worry about the future of Leicester if they go down, because financially, I mean, they've got players who are on £95,000 a week. A hangover from the Premiership. I mean, that's you're in real trouble.
But I think to go back to your point, which is cruel to do it now. There's absolutely no way that the club didn't know this was coming. The club have been dealing with this since they were called up on it last year, and would have known that the appeals and all of that could have given them a lifeline, but they knew the probable outcome and probably have done for several months.
I think they acknowledged it, didn't they? After the announcement that this was being looked at, I'm sure West Brom put something out as a football club, a statement basically acknowledging it, saying, we're aware of it. We hold our hands up, and we'll work accordingly with it. I'm sure.
So if it does happen, and it's they fail any appeal, and the stats are in, then it so of course then that would mean West Brom and Oxford literally swap places, and there'll be 1 point between them. So Oxford have got something to play for, and I think this is the key thing for you guys.
That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, we've gone round the houses a bit.
No, but it's an important detail. But for them and Blackburn and Portsmouth as well, and to some extent, in the same ways, can you see yourselves turning around a 4-point deficit at the top of the table? You've got the likes of Leicester and Oxford who are looking to see if they can turn around some 4 or 5 points, and if they did, then all of those teams are at risk. So it's a right dogfight down there. But yeah, you're right. Oxford have got a lot of draws recently. They won their last game, so this is no pushover.
Jamie, as you said earlier on, Stoke, we need to win because Tuesday's going to be tough. How tough are you talking about?
I think you just hit the nail on the head a minute ago yourself, where they're fighting for their lives, aren't they? And it's this point of the season where, and we've seen it so many times over the years in all leagues, when you've got teams are down there for a reason. In Sheffield Wednesday's case, it's not so much a footballing thing; it's a complete shit show off the field, and that's cost them. Leicester the same to a degree, although they have been piss poor this season as well. But then you look at Oxford, West Brom, Blackburn, Portsmouth. They're down there for a reason. Over the course of the season, they've not been good enough. But what is inevitable at this point of the season is you always get some teams down there that they might not necessarily find the momentum. They might not necessarily find a run of form like a Southampton have done recently, for example. But what you will find is that they will pick up an odd result here and there, something that will give them a lifeline. It's not very often that we get to this point of the season, and if the teams that are down, they're just all constantly. Look at Portsmouth last week. Nobody would have give Portsmouth a cat's chance in hell of beating Ipswich, and they turned them over 2-0.
Yep.
Look, I just think it's a tough place to go midweek against a team that's fighting for their lives, so they'll be well up for it. The onus is on us. If you look at the two positions in the league, you would say we are fighting for playoffs on merit, and they are fighting to survive on merit. We have to go there, assuming that we've had a good result against Stoke as well. We have to go there and be confident and take the game to them, because if we go there and we try and do our kind of usual away thing where we go defensive, try to keep them out, and then catch something on the break. I'm not saying that wouldn't work, but it's at the moment with the way we're playing, it feels a bit of a risky tactic.
And Mark Harris will score because he hates me. I was going to say, what he's going to do is he's going to score, and then he's going to run to the camera and lift his shirt up, and he's going to have written on his vest, he's going to have Welshtechie as a not a very nice person. No, I know.
So if he does, it's your fault. It's your fault.
Fine. I'll take it. It's all right. It's not the first time it's been my fault. So time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce cork. I'll go first on this one. This has been really difficult. But I think Wrexham have got too many. I think they've got sugar in the fuel tank. We're not running smooth. I'm predicting a 1-1 draw for this one. I think we'll get a draw. Rather a draw than what I saw on Sunday. I just think Oxford are going to be up for it. They're going to be fighting. They're at home. Crowd are going to be with them. I'm going on Tuesday because Sam Stadium was one of the ones that was on my list to go to this season. So I'm quite looking forward to that because Oxford's a lovely place, easy to get to and everything. But I just think 1-1 for me. Unfortunately, draw. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Oxford United versus Wrexham?
So I'm in another Birmingham area as I was last week. My head is saying one thing, my heart's saying another. 1-1 was my head answer. As much as I'd love to say that we're going to go there and win, and I sincerely hope we do, I agree with you. 1-1. I think a draw.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Oxford United versus Wrexham? You're muted, mate. I think you're muted. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, from when I coughed earlier. Thank you very much. Well, I wasn't expecting that. That is because I was trying to see what the bookies were thinking, and it's a 3-way tie between a home win, away win, and a draw.
That's great. Well done, bookies. The winner.
Yeah. You can't split them. So many of them are going 2-1 Wrexham. So many of them are going 2-1 Oxford, and a couple of them saying there's the draw is actually the least, but it's like 30%, whereas the others are 32. It's such everyone's kind of unclear on this one because I think Oxford are going to be up for it. Wrexham are wobbling, and yet Wrexham should be the stronger side. So, so I imagined his heart was going to say a 2-1 Wrexham win. You see, so I was going to probably go Oxford win just for the giggles of it would give us somebody's getting a point. Now you've both gone draw. I now got to show my colours of which side of the. I'm not going to go for the draw.
No, fair enough.
But is it 2-1 Wrexham or is it 2? Because I do think there's goals. I don't think there's clean sheets. 2-1 Wrexham away. Is that what I'm saying? What am I saying? Oxford. It doesn't matter to me in that way because me saying Oxford. I said Birmingham last week, or whatever. I can bet against it, but you know what? Something tells me you'll be okay. So I'm going to go for Wrexham 2.
So you fuck! If we win 2-1, I swear to Sonny Jesus, I am going to.
Can you imagine?
I am going to flip.
Because Because you're
because
what, 6 points,
because
6 points in the lead at the moment.
Because last week I said I knew we were going to lose against Birmingham, but for the benefit of this league, I went with the Wrexham win.
You did.
And then this week against Oxford, I do firmly believe we'll beat Stoke. But against Oxford, what I decided to do was either my head answer, which is what I think will happen, is a draw. But what I wanted to say was a 2-1 Wrexham win. I've gone with my head this time, unlike last week. And if I get shot for it, I'm going to be fucking raging next week.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be looking back at Jamie's rage in next week's pod. So there we go, 150 episodes in the bag, and still not a decent prediction in sight across any of them, to be brutally honest. Next week, obviously, we look back at Wrexham at home to Stoke City and Wrexham away to Oxford United, plus Cymru Women away at Albania, and we look forward to the last away day of the regular season. I say away regular season because you never know. As Wrexham travel to the probable champions and newly promoted Premier League club, Coventry City. Please let us know via the usual channels on social media, comments, questions, or by email, eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com, because we welcome your comments, your questions, your statements, whether you think Jamie looks better in pink or in amber. You know, it's difficult because I quite like him looking like a blueberry, but there you go, maybe that's just me. Of course, 150 episodes, 3 years. These two have not walked out the door in rage and anger yet. We live in hope, particularly where Jamie's concerned. So thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure. I'm just changing the colour for you. There you go. How do you like that one?
Lovely. You look like you're in that Hightown shagger lot I was talking about earlier. So, yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you, Daz.
You're welcome. Looking forward to it already.
I've been Welshtechie. We'll see you all next week for what I'm sure will be an enthralling moan-a-thon, particularly if we have 2 performances like we had at Birmingham. Can you imagine that? I think I'll have to have a 3-hour podcast if that's the case. But until next week, of course, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
More. Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy has 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it. Wrexham are champions. Wrexham are champions. Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013. Alex Cross, great ball. Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast!